What's going on, guys? It's your boy Nick, coming today with an update on the channel for my Evil Eye Labrynth deck profile for the post Traptrix structure deck. Now, Evil Eye Labrynth is actually a deck that I brought to the channel a few months ago at this point, right around when Darkwing Blast had released. And since then, both Evil Eye as well as Labrynth got direct support out of the most recent core set, which was Photon Hypernova. Now, in addition to that, the Traptrix structure deck just released literally yesterday at the time of this recording, and that structure deck brings a lot of really cool indirect support to trap decks in general. And since this deck focuses pretty heavily on trap cards, I thought it would be a perfect time to update the list and bring you guys some of my ideas that I brought to this deck overall. So with that being said, welcome to those of you who are new to the channel. My name's Nick. We do Yu-Gi-Oh! Content mainly focused on rogue and casual decks. If you guys are tired of the meta and just tired of the format in general, this channel brings a lot of really cool and unique content that most other Yu-Gi tubers don't bring to their channels. And as a result of that, I feel like I stand out because I do bring stuff to the channel that not a lot of people tend to focus on. So with that being said, if you're watching this right now and you haven't hit that subscribe button, I highly encourage you to do so. I'm working my way to that 1,000 subscriber benchmark, and I can't get there without your help. So with that being said, we're going to hop right into this profile. And you know how we do on the channel here. We always lead things off with the monsters first. Now this is a 42 card deck. And like I said, it's overall been working out pretty well for me. I haven't had a chance to bring it to locals just yet, but I do want to. And when I do take it to locals, I will definitely be letting you guys know how it performs. But anyway, we're starting things off with triple copies of Surzeal, Watcher of the Evil Eye. Now, this is the starter, or the Rota, for the Evil Eye theme. Basically, upon his normal summon, you get to add an Evil Eye card from the deck to your hand, except a copy of himself. Now, when this card is equipped with the Evil Eye of Selene, which is Evil Eye's main power card, it's their equip spell, he gains the ability to be able to, as a quick effect, target a special summon monster on the field and destroy it. So, triple copies of Surzeal because you just want to see it. It's definitely a really cool starter for the theme and something that helps you just search any Evil Eye card from deck to hand. Now, newly released from Photon Hypernova is 2 copies of Basilitrus, Familiar of the Evil Eye. Now, this card is absolutely insane. Not only is it an extender, but it also allows you to quick effect link summon during the opponent's turn, even using Evil Eye equips you control as if they were monsters, completely breaking the link summoning mechanic, allowing you to use equip spells as material to summon a link monster, which is just completely insane. So this card, we play at 2 copies, and pretty much if you control an Evil Eye monster and this card's in your hand or the graveyard, you're able to quick effect special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Then as a quick effect during your opponent's turn, again, like I said, he allows you to quick link into an Evil Eye link monster using material you control, including Evil Eye equips, since you can treat them as monsters. So 2 copies of Basilitrus really helps increase the overall deck's resiliency and helps push through disruptions like hand traps and whatnot. And then for the last Evil Eye main deck monsters, 1 copy of Basilius, Familiar of the Evil Eye. Pretty much another extender, except it's not an activated effect to summon. He just special summons himself as long as you control an Evil Eye monster from your hand. In addition to that, he also has the ability to, during your main phase, send an Evil Eye spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard. That effect doesn't really get used as much anymore. However, it is nice to have if you need it. So that rounds out the Evil Eye monster count for the main deck. Now we're going to jump into the Labrynth main deck monsters we play, and that is 2 copies of Ariana, the Labrynth Servant. Part of the reason why we run Evil Eyes and Labrynths together is because they actually have quite a bit of decent hidden synergy, plus the fact that they're both just dark fiend archetypes. There's a lot of overlap between the 2 themes in terms of like cards you can run that function well for both sides of the spectrum. But we run 2 copies of Ariana. She pretty much serves as the deck's secondary starter behind Surzeal. Like they're both really strong normal summons for the deck. So if you don't have access to Surzeal or don't open it, Ariana's a very good substitute to be able to normal summon and start off your plays that way. When she is normal or special summoned, she lets you add a Labrynth card from the deck to your hand, except a copy of herself. And then while she's on the field, she has another effect where if a monster leaves the field because of your normal traps effect, you are able to draw a card, and then if you do, you can apply the following effect. You can special summon a fiend monster from hand, or set a spell trap from your hand to your side of the field. So you can only use one Ariana effect per turn. So whenever she hits the board, if you use the search effect, you're not able to use the secondary effect. In the turn that you use the secondary effect, you can't use the first effect, if that makes sense. So just 2 copies of Ariana. Very strong card nonetheless, helping you, just a consistency booster. Then we play 1 copy of Ariane, the Labyrinth Servant. I'm testing this out as a 1-of in the deck. She's not really a starter necessarily, while she can be. It's not a card you really want to open all that much. You mainly use her because she has the exact same secondary effect as Ariana does. And if a normal trap makes a monster leave the field, you get to draw a card, and then you can special summon a fiend from hand or set a spell trap from hand. Now, like I said, she's not really a starter for you. However, you can send a normal trap card from your hand or that's set on your field to the graveyard to special summon any level 4 or lower fiend from your deck in defense position except a copy of herself. So, like, that's a pretty cool effect, but I wouldn't really call her a starter because she's pretty vulnerable to most forms of disruption, and it's a strict neg-2 if she does get stopped. Whereas, like, with cards like Ariana or even Surzeal, if they do get disrupted, you're not really negging anything. So we just play 1 copy of Ariane. Just for that not flex spot, but that flexibility to be able to pivot and have more Labrynth names. But moving on, we have 2 copies of Lady Labrynth of the Silver Castle, arguably the best Labrynth monster in the main deck as a whole. She functions as your boss monster. She toolboxes your other trap cards from deck. She special summons herself when a normal trap is activated, or if a Labrynth monster's effect was used. She just does everything you need. On top of being able to self-protect, granting herself protection while you control a set card, she cannot be targeted or be destroyed by the opponent's card effects, making her a problem for most decks to be able to out. She is extremely strong, and she's just perfect. Honestly, one of the best boss monsters I've seen in recent memory for a trap-focused archetype. Then we play 1 copy of Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle. She's pretty much like the secondary boss to Lady. She's not one you really go for first necessarily. You usually want to get Lady on board as early as possible because Lady is able to set other traps from deck to field by her own effect, which is just insane. But Lovely is really nice as a follow-up, just to help close out games as an additional big beat stick. But also, she prevents your opponent from being able to respond to your normal trap activations with monster effects. So she helps insulate your board. Not to mention, she also recovers your trap cards by resetting them from the grave to your side of the field once per turn, which is just insane. Then when a normal trap makes a monster leave the field, you can trigger this effect. You can either non-target, destroy a card in the opponent's hand at random, or any card they control. Again, that doesn't target. So Lovely is a very nice boss monster. The only reason why you just want to play 1 of her is because she does not have an effect to summon herself in the way that Lady does. So just something to be mindful of. And then for the last monster in the main deck, we play 1 copy of Absolute King Backjack, just as a really strong fiend monster to dump to grave or pitch from hand with any type of effect. And he allows us to dig into the top 3 cards of our deck, arrange them to the top in any order, and then during the opponent's turn, he can banish himself from grave as cost to then excavate the top card of our deck. If it's a normal trap, we set it, and it can be used the same turn, which is really strong. So 1 copy of Backjack, and like I said, that rounds out the monster count. Now we're diving into the spell cards. 2 copies of Evil Eye Domain Pareidolia. This is the Evil Eye field spell, and upon activation, allows you to search for an Evil Eye monster from deck to your hand. It has a secondary effect, which basically states during damage calculation, if your Evil Eye monster is attacked while it's equipped with Evil Eye of Selene, both players take the battle damage. That doesn't really come up that often, if I'm being honest, but it does have a third effect where if this card is destroyed by a card effect, whether that's yours or the opponent's, you can target an Evil Eye monster in your grave and add it to hand. So very nice as a 2-of, and again serves as a multiple ways to search for Surzeal, which is one of the deck's main starters. But moving on, we play 2 copies of Evil Eye of Selene. This is the equip spell that I was talking about, where when equipped to Surzeal, Surzeal gains that other ability to quick effect pop special summon monsters. So Evil Eye of Selene is an equip spell that can only be equipped to an Evil Eye monster. Now, that monster cannot be destroyed by battle or the opponent's card effects. Also, the opponent cannot target it with card effects. In addition, each time I activate the equipped monster's effects or another Evil Eye spell trap card, I lose 500 life points and the equipped monster gains 500 attack. This attack buff stays even if Selene leaves the field. That is not once per turn. So pretty much what you do is you equip this to like any Evil Eye monster, and it turns it into like a towers almost, because it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects or be targeted. And then it just gains insane amounts of attack every single turn, each time you use the equip monster's effects or you use another Evil Eye spell trap. So it takes any monster in your deck and just turns it into this insanely powerful boss monster, which I just enjoy so much. Then, if Evil Eye Selene's in the graveyard, you can pay 1,000 life points, banish an Evil Eye spell trap from grave, accept a copy of Selene, to then reset the Selene from your graveyard back to your side of the field. So even if your opponent outs this, you can just keep recovering it to just further move along your plays, which is really cool. Then we also play 2 copies of Evil Eye of Gorgonale. This card functions as like more copies of Evil Eye Selene, because its name becomes Evil Eye Selene while in the spell trap zone, and there are certain Evil Eye cards that gain additional effects if Selene is in the spell trap zone, so something to keep in mind. But pretty much, you get to equip it to an Evil Eye monster, and while it's equipped, while your life points are lower than your opponent's, the equipped monster gains attack equal to the difference. So because you pay a lot of life with this deck, you can actually set up for very easy OTKs by equipping Gorgonale to one of your monsters while your life is considerably lower than your opponent's, and that monster just becomes like really, really large and able to clear almost anything it comes across by battle. Then, while this card's in the graveyard, you could banish this card from grave and discard an Evil Eye card to add an Evil Eye spell trap from the deck to your hand, except a copy of Gorgonale. So this is a very good card to dump to the graveyard off of some of your effects that allow you to do that, because it's got a really nice utility out of the graveyard. So 2 copies of that. But moving on, we play 1 copy of Evil Eye Awakening. This is pretty much like Monster Reborn for the theme. It allows you to special summon an Evil Eye monster from hand or grave. Note that it doesn't target the monster, which is nice. So if your opponent like Called by the Graves, you still get to revive something. And then if you control Evil Eye of Selene in the spell trap zone, you can special summon an Evil Eye monster from deck instead. So that's pretty good for fielding cards like Basilius or the brand new Basilatris out of Photon Hypernova. So just 1 copy of Awakening is all you need. And then brand new out of Hypernova, we play 1 copy of Evil Eyes Unleashed. Now this card is absolutely insane, and if we were playing a pure Evil Eye deck, we'd probably run multiples of this, but with the way the deck's built, as a 1-of, it's perfectly fine. For cost, it sends an Evil Eye monster and an Evil Eye spell trap from deck to grave to then allow you at resolution to add an Evil Eye equip spell from the deck to your hand. So it's pretty much just another way to search for Selene while also putting 2 cards in the graveyard for cost, which is nuts. Then, while this card's in the graveyard, if you link summon an Evil Eye Link monster, you can banish this card from the graveyard to then equip an Evil Eye equip spell from your graveyard to that Evil Eye Link you control. So that's really, really cool, and again, a really awesome legacy support for the Evil Eye theme. So that rounds out the Evil Eye spells. Now we're moving into the Labrynth spell, which we just play 1 copy of, and it's their field spell, which is Labrynth. This field spell is really, really powerful, gaining where if you activate a set Welcome Labrynth normal trap, you can gain add this additional effect to it at resolution, which is destroy 1 card on the field, non-target. Then, if you activate a non-Labrynth normal trap, you get to special summon a Fiend from your hand or graveyard, which just further solidifies your board states and, like I said, pushes your plays along. So this is a great field spell as a 1-of. 1 is all you really need. You don't really need any more than that because it's not a card that like necessarily starts your plays. It's something you want to search once your engine's already going. But moving on, brand new out of the Traptrix structure is 2 copies of Trap Tantalizing Tune. This card is basically a Pot of Greed of sorts, almost like an Allure of Darkness, but for trap decks, because it allows you to discard a level 4 insect or plant monster or a normal trap for cost to then draw 2 cards. This deck plays an insane amount of normal traps, which you'll see. So this is pretty much Pot of Greed for the theme by pitching a trap, and the cost to pitch isn't even really cost because you can recover those trap cards so easily with the Labrynth engine working how it does. So it's not even like you're negging necessarily. You're just getting a free draw too. And if that wasn't bad enough or good enough, while this card's in grave, you can target any one of your banished normal traps to then place it on the bottom of the deck by banishing this card from grave, which is just really cool, like recursion. So 2 copies of that, brand new out of the Traptrix structure. So that rounds out the spells. Now we're going to dive into the insane amounts of trap cards we play. We're on 1 copy of Evil Eye Defeat. Keep in mind that Surzeal can directly search this since it's an Evil Eye card. Evil Eye Defeat is pretty much a compulsory evacuation device, but it's searchable through so many ways in this deck. The reason why we play this, though, is because if you control Evil Eye of Selene in the spell trap zone, it becomes a double compulsory evacuation device, allowing you to bounce up to 2 monsters instead of just 1. So very cool for removal. Again, like cards like this make the Labrynth portion of the deck really, really cracked. And then we play 1 copy of Evil Eye Retribution. This is a counter trap for the theme, and this is another reason why I think Evil Eye fits so well with Labrynth, is because we can main deck this card and search it at will, And because we can search it, this insulates our plays from blowouts like Lightning Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster, because it states when when a spell trap is activated while we control an Evil Eye monster, we can negate the activation, and if we do, destroy it. Then, if Evil Eye of Selene is in the spell trap zone, this card's activation and effect can't be negated. That last part's a little redundant since this is already a counter trap, so not many things can respond to this anyway, but it's really nice the fact that we get to play this and, like I said, prevent our boards from getting broken or blown out by like evenly matches or like dusters and whatnot. So very cool there. But now moving into some of the Labrynth traps, we're on triple copies of Welcome Labrynth. Very strong card. Think of this as E-Telly, but for the Labrynth archetype. Allows us to special summon a Labrynth monster directly from deck. And if that wasn't crazy enough, this card, whenever a normal trap makes a monster leave the field, we can reset this card from the graveyard back to our board. And we can constantly keep doing that over the course of a duel. I can't tell you how many times that this card just helps us grind out the opponent. So very strong there. Then brand new out of the Hypernova set is 2 copies of Big Welcome Labrynth, another Welcome Labrynth to add to the arsenal. It allows us to special summon a Labrynth monster from the hand, deck, or the graveyard, but then we return a monster we control to the hand at resolution. Now you would think that that's counterproductive, but that triggers so many of our additional effects because this is a normal trap that makes a monster leave the field, even if it's our own. So there's a lot of cute things you can do with this. During combos, which I'll be doing a combo tutorial video for this deck soon. And then while this card's in the graveyard and you control a level 8 or higher fiend, you can banish this card from grave to target a monster the opponent controls and return it to the hand. So this serves as another copy of Compulse out of the graveyard, which is really cool. So then moving on to the generic normal traps that we run, we play triple copies of Infinite Impermanence. Obviously this is just a no-brainer to play in this deck. It's a hand trap, one of the strongest cards this format, and the fact that we can main deck it and search it and continually abuse it out of graveyard by resetting it over and over is just, like, it's just free real estate. Like, there's no reason why we shouldn't be on that card. And then, moving on, as much as I hate to say it, we are main decking 2 copies of D-Barrier. Now, I kind of really dislike the, like, Floodgate Labrynth builds that just, like, double down on cards like this and cards like Skill Drain. Like, I think it takes away from what makes the deck so fun, in my opinion. But because of the current format and because Kashtira is the menace that they are, we do kind of unfortunately have to main deck a card like this just because, we can keep them off of their Shangri era from, in the first place, which is a card that can potentially block all our back row zones. So we do have to play this, unfortunately, even if I dislike it personally. It's just the way it is because of how the format ended up turning out. But moving on, 2 copies of Archfiend's Ghastly Glitch. This is pretty much a free pop of any card on the field. And then it allows us to Foolish Burial a Fiend monster at resolution. So very strong. Also, it's not once per turn. So very good trap card there. Then we play 2 copies of Terrors of the Overroot. This is targeted removal, but non-destruction. So we target and send, which is very useful. Again, it's just a normal trap that makes a monster leave the field. So we play 2 copies of that. And then for the last 2 trap cards we actually main deck. Again, the decks have 42 cards. We play 2 of the brand new Terrifying Trap Hole Nightmare that came out in the Traptrix structure deck. This card is really cool because if the opponent has special summoned a monster or monsters this turn, we get to target any monster they control with 2,000 or more attack and destroy it. Then if we have a whole normal trap in grave, we can banish a monster from their graveyard. This does count itself. So if we have a copy of this in grave and we activate one on field, we get to pop a monster they control and banish a monster from their graveyard since we have a whole normal trap in our graveyard. So 2 copies of this. I felt that this was a pretty cool trap and it's exclusive to the Traptrix structure. So like I said, that rounds out the main deck, guys, at 42 cards exactly. Now we're going to jump into the extra deck, where we play 1 copy of DDD Stone King Darius. This requires 2 level 3 Fiend type monsters to make, and we usually go into this off of the Evil Eye extenders like Basilius and Basilatris. Its effects don't come up that much. We play this because it's a stepping stone to another DDD monster that we like to end on, which I'll be showcasing you guys shortly. We play 1 copy of Evil Swarm Exciton Knight. This is a really cool, like, miniature Divine Arsenal Zeus, pretty much, for rank 4 decks. And since we get locked into Fiends off the Welcome Labrynth trap, this is just something we can make and pretty much nuke the board at any point. 1 copy of number 60 to Garrus the Timeless, just because this card gives us a lot of utility, allowing us to either use this Pot of Greed-like effect, or use the Monster Reborn-like effect, or letting a monster attack twice, or I'm sorry, it doubles the attack, excuse me, doubling the attack of a monster, helping us ensure OTKs. So I like the utility that Dugaris gives us. Then we also play 1 copy of number 41 Baguska in the extra deck. Again, it's a fiend that we can make, and it pretty much floodgates the opponent. So even though if I don't like running it, we still kind of have to just because of the way the format is currently. Then we play 1 copy of DDD Wave King Caesar. Again, what this card does isn't important. We mainly use it as a stepping stone for the next monster I'll be showcasing. But this is pretty much 2 level 4 fiends. So if we can't get to the next monster I'm going to be talking about with this guy, we can get it with this guy, which is really, really cool. And speaking of that monster happens to be DDD Divisor King Deuce Machinex. This card can be overlaid on top of any existing DDD Xyz. And while it's in the field, it's just a menace for your opponent to deal with. Up once per chain, it can detach 2 materials from itself. When an opponent's monster activates its effect, we can add that monster as a material to this card. So it doesn't negate their effect, but we take their monster and puts it under itself as a material. And it can do that up to 2 times. Because when we summon it, it usually has 3 material below itself. And it'll detach 2 material and then attach a material from the opponent to itself, still giving it 2 material below it. So we can use the effect up to twice per turn because it's a once per chain effect. So really strong there. That rounds out the Xyzes though. Moving into the links, we play 2 copies of the Gorgon Empress of the Evil-Eyed. This is the Evil-Eye Link 2, which is pretty much like Effect Veiler on legs. While it's equipped with Selene, as a quick effect, it can target any monster on the field and negate its effects. So again, pretty much like Veiler on legs, and then when you equip it with cards like Selene, it just makes it very difficult for your opponent to out. And then we play 1 copy of Zerziel, Ruler of the Evil-Eyed. This is the Link 3 Evil-Eye Link monster. While it's equipped with Selene, as a quick effect, it allows us to target any card in the field and destroy it. Again, while this card is equipped with Selene, it's just very difficult for the opponent to deal with. So, you know, when we get to stuff like this, it's pretty much ensuring that we're going to pretty much be able to close out the game. But now we play 1 copy of Phoenix, 1 copy of Cerberus, just as generic, you know, Link monsters to either out back row or out monsters. Since they're both fiends, we can make this pretty freely in the deck without any issue, even if we're locked into the restriction by Welcome Labrynth. Play 1 Muckraker from the Underworld, pretty much as a monster reborn for the deck, and a generic fiend Link 2. Then we play 1 copy of Dark the Dark Charmer. Again, very easy to make in this deck because pretty much everything in the deck is dark, and we can steal one of the opponent's dark monsters and summon it to our side of the field. And then we play 1 copy of Unchained Abomination, followed by 1 copy of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. 2 very powerful Link, Fiend Link monsters, excuse me, that we can just run in our extra deck, and we can make at almost any point over the course of the duel. So that rounds out the extra deck, guys. Before we end this video, I will be showcasing you guys the side deck I have prepared, and that is going to be triple copies of Lava Golem. Again, given the format, with how broken Kashtira can be, being able to lock out all back row zones, especially once they know the matchup they're playing against, cards like Lava Golem are pretty much mandatory to have in the side deck because we can't afford to have all 5 of our spell trap zones locked. We need to be able to break that, and something like Lava Golem is perfect for doing so. Plus, it's a fiend monster as well, and this deck doesn't really need its normal summon because we can play cards like Big Welcome Labrynth and Welcome Labrynth respectively to be able to put monsters on board during the opponent's turn. But moving on though, we play triple copies of Chaos Hunter on the side. Again, another really powerful fiend monster that happens to counter the living hell out of Kashtira, preventing them from banishing cards at all. So very cool there. We side into that, obviously during a Kashtira match. And then to out other back row decks, we side deck triple copies of Evil Eye Confrontation. This is a quick play spell trap removal spell that can be searched off of cards like Zerziel. Pretty much by itself, it's a Mystical Space Typhoon. However, if we control Evil Eye of Selene, it becomes a Cosmic Cyclone instead. So that's pretty cool. So we side deck 3 copies of that. And then we side deck 3 copies of Evenly Matched just to help with going second. Again, breaking boards that are already established can be pretty hard for a lot of control decks, especially when they're going second, and Evenly Matched just helps us clean that up. And then we, for the remaining side cards, we play 1 copy of Waybridge. Again, brand new out of Hypernova. This is a very powerful trap that we can just side into if we feel that we need non-target, non-destruction removal. It's almost like Evenly Matched, just way more cracked. If the opponent controls 2 or more monsters than we do, the opponent must send monsters they control to the graveyard so that they only control 1. So this is just a very insane board clear, and given that it's a normal trap, our cards like Lady Labrynth can set it very easily. 1 copy of Eradicator Epidemic Virus to blow out those decks that, you know, play heavy spells or trap counts. And then for the last card we side deck is 1 copy of Boo Boo Game. We only use this card for the graveyard effect. We'll side this in post game 1. Once the opponent knows that we're on a control deck, it's pretty likely that they'll be siding into a lot of back row hate. And we can get this card again off of Lady Labrynth. And if it gets destroyed, it allows us to recover at least 2 of our traps from the graveyard back to our side of the field. So that rounds out the main deck, extra deck, as well as the side deck for my updated Evil Eye Labrynth build. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the profile. Stay tuned on the channel because I will be doing a combo tutorial as well as a test hand video for this deck. And like I said, if you got this far and you haven't hit that subscribe button, I highly encourage you do. Because like I said, I'm going to continue making really cool and unique Yu-Gi-Oh! Content for you guys. Like the video as well and leave a comment down below on what you guys thought. Otherwise, this is Nick, signing out.